Yeah, we in here, cause we been here. We in here, yeah, we in here, cause we been here. Yeah, we in here, cause we came here. Rid of us now. We in here, yeah, we in here, cause we came here. Rid of us now. And you know that we won't ever go, so you do what you want. We in here for life, 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 life.
That's it.
Well, happy Monday party, people. It's Miss Laureen with Black versus the Board of Education, and we are talking about reparations. What is reparative justice and why that is important? But you know, before we get any conversation started, you have to know who's in the building. So I will bring my co-host on screen right now. Miss Melissa, if you wouldn't mind starting the party off right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Melissa. I'm 15 years old and I am located in Southern California.
Well, welcome. Miss Jada.
Hey y'all, my name is Jada. I am a homeschool now senior and I'm so glad to be back.
Awesome. Welcome back, Miss Adia.
Hey everyone, my name's Adia and I'm an incoming senior in the Sacramento area.
Oh, all y'all getting old. What is going on? My goodness. Well, we have a couple of fresh faces in the building today. Mr. Jalen, go ahead and reintroduce yourself. You've been here before, but let the folks know who you are and get yourself off mute.
Yeah, so my name is Jalen Scott, and I'm a college student at San Francisco State University right now in the Sacramento area.
Awesome. Okay. And last but not least, a definite fresh face for us. Mr. DJ, go ahead and introduce yourself, love bug.
What's up, y'all? I'm DJ. I go to a school in the Elk Grove area.
What grade are you in?
I'm an incoming senior.
Come on, seniors. All right, class of 2023. Let's go. Well, I'm so glad you guys are here because, like I said, we are going to be talking about reparations. And for some folks, you know, it's one of those hot button topics. They think that it's a handout, but we know better. And to help us to explain it to the people and to take some of your questions today, we have some very, very important people in the building. If we could go ahead and add our special guest for the day, we have Dr. Kamilah Moore, who is the chair of the California Reparations Task Force, which is really big because a lot of people don't have access to her. And then also we have Mr. Lodgson, who they are going to introduce themselves, but me and Chris go way back. So let me start with Dr. Moore. Go ahead and say hey to the people.
Hi, everybody. So glad to be here. Sorry my camera's off. I have COVID. Maybe I'll try to work myself up in terms of energy to turn the camera back on. But I'm just super happy to be here anytime I'm around in conversation with Black youth. You know, I know it's gonna be guaranteed an amazing conversation. So thanks again for inviting me. And yeah.
Of course, we are so glad that you even popped on because we know that when you're not feeling well, it's extra to ask you to do extra. So thank you so much for even popping on. And Mr. Lodgson, please let the people know who you are.
What's up? What's going on? I saw a bunch of y'all. Didn't I see a bunch of y'all the other day at the other night at the soiree? I think I saw a bunch of y'all there looking all good and in your great energy and your great glory. Chris Lodgson. I'm here in Sacramento right now, and I am one of the lead organizers for a group called the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, or CJEC. And I'm just a regular dude, just like everybody else, who decided to get involved for reparations here in the state of California. So part of what I do now is work on reparations and make sure that we get reparations first here in the state of California and then across the country.
Awesome. So I know that my students have been doing a lot of research. So if you could, and I'm going to go to Melissa first, tell me what your understanding of reparations is. What is your understanding? Melissa.
Sorry, yeah. My understanding of reparations, I did a little research on this, is when I was researching like the dictionary definition of reparations, because some people get it mixed up. And when you hear reparations, they kind of think negatively about it when you think about the history of America. So it's the making amends for a wrong that one has done by paying money or otherwise helping those who have been wrong. So that is kind of that's the dictionary definition. And I really think that talks to the history of America and what has happened here and why it's important.
All right. So DJ, why are reparations important to you?
It's important to me because of over the time of slavery, how torturous it was for black people. It means that if you're not willing to pay us back for how badly and how terrible you treated us, then what means do we have to trust you?
Okay. Jada, reparations, talk to me.
My level of understanding of reparations is basically the government or like someone of high authority kind of paying us, the ADOS, the American descendants of slaves, for the work that was never paid for, because free labor and slavery and all that. And when I think about reparations, I feel as though it is important. I think it hasn't been something that has been of importance to me until now, because I'm still learning about this kind of stuff. But I would say when I think of reparations, I think of just being appreciative of what we've done for y'all and kind of not always pushing us to the side, showing some appreciation, some care, because time and time again this country has shown their discare for us, the way that they treat us, whether it be police brutality, whether it be how we get jobs, whether it be just basic stuff that we have to experience as Black people. And it's kind of just paying us a debt that you owe. And for you to feel as if you don't owe anything, it's kind of just like, are you crazy? Like, in a way, you just want to just use us and then push us aside, like, you've done what you're supposed to do. Like, that is inconsiderate, very inconsiderate. It actually is very hurtful.
Wow. Adia, tell us your understanding of reparations.
All right, I got to follow that one. No, but really, I think reparations is this compensation to not only admit the wrongs that obviously were done in history and that are still being done today, but also acknowledge that we're starting an unlevel playing field and could try to help level the playing field in a sense. But one thing I think is really important as we talk about reparations is the form of reparations, right? Because reparations can be seen, in land, in just like straight cash, in a lot of different ways. So I think it's important that we acknowledge how reparations can benefit us as a community, but also be our downfall in a sense, and making sure that we're reinvesting in our communities and using it for a good purpose and to level that playing field. So also having the responsibility within ourselves, if that makes sense.
Okay. Jalen, I know you've really been researching because you keep telling me about everything you're reading. Yeah. So talk to me. What are we talking about?
I was looking up some different things for reparations, and this quote really stood out to me. It said, in 1860, over $3 billion was the assigned value to the physical bodies of enslaved Black Americans to be used as free labor in production. This was more money than was invested in factories and railroads combined. Wow. So just to put that into perspective, like, we're doing all this free labor that costs more than railroads and factories is crazy. And then they don't get to reap any of the benefits of it. So it's just crazy to me to think about stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, since we have the folks that are, so initially when I started learning about ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, I didn't really have an understanding of why we saw things the way that we did in terms of flat Blackness. I thought that all Black people were the same. I thought that we had all the same upbringing. We had the same issues. It never occurred to me that some Black people had not experienced slavery here in the United States, that form of chattel slavery. And in my understanding, or in my quest for knowledge, that's where I met Mr. Lodgson. And we started hanging out at his house, and he started holding meetings and making sure we got a ground level understanding of what it was, the impact it could have in our communities. So, Chris, I'm going to go to you. What is your understanding of reparations and why it is important?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think everybody here said what I was thinking.
Oh,
Y'all
come on, young people.
y'all don't even need me here no more. Y'all don't need me. Yeah, this should be like the Youth Reparations Commission right here. Right here. This should
Don't
be the
play.
statewide youth. I mean, everything you said is everything I was thinking. Making amends, paying the debt. I mean, every single thing. Jalen, I think you were 100% absolutely right with the why, and also Jada too. The amount of free labor, hundreds of years of free labor, hundreds of years. And yes, right here in the state of California too. Sometimes we talk about slavery as if it was something that happened in the South, something that happened in Georgia, or Alabama or Mississippi, or Louisiana or Texas. There was slavery going on right here in California. Yes, right here in the state of California. Yep.
Pause. Did y'all know that slavery was happening here in California? Yes or no?
Wow.
So you got two no's and three yeses.
That's why we're here.
Okay.
That's why we're here today. And that's why the state of California set up its first in the nation reparations commission. The state of California is the first state in the country to create a reparations commission, because California knows that California has slavery. Even when I'm sitting right now, I'm right here in Sacramento. Some of y'all up here in Sacramento too, in the Sacramento area, right here where we sitting right now, there was our ancestors who were enslaved here in this same county, right up here in the county of Sacramento and nearby, working in the gold mines. Some of our people came here free and they were enslaved here. Some of our people were enslaved and then brought here enslaved. Slavery happened right here in the state of California, and not just slavery, but what came next, which was the Jim Crow, right? The Black Codes, the KKK, something that we don't know a lot about, but we are learning now, because the California Reparations Commission just put out a report just in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Did y'all know that in the 1920s, the KKK held more meetings here in the state of California than it did in Louisiana and Mississippi combined? Right here in the state of California in the 1920s, the KKK was holding more meetings here in California than it did in Louisiana and Mississippi combined. So it's slavery, and then it's the stuff that came after slavery, and that's why reparations are needed or due, and that's why we're going to get all reparations.
Now, when you say now, I just have to put that out there, put this out there, because I think it's very, very important, because people seem to have a one-sided view of what reparations are. They tend to refer to it as a handout. But when you say it was slavery and everything that came afterwards, what is he talking about? DJ, give me one. What is he talking about? What came after slavery? Give me one.
Jim Crow laws, mostly segregating Black people.
Okay. Melissa, give me one.
Redlining.
Okay. Jada.
Black codes.
Ooh, come on, y'all. Adia, give me something.
Mass incarceration.
Ooh. All right. Jalen, give me something.
Discrimination.
Is that what you was talking about, Chris? Did they get it?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Everything and all of that. And then there's the stuff that's going on now. So there's the stuff that's going on now that we also are connected to with what the stuff that happened before and to our ancestors. And I think the chair is probably going to say this, so I'm a speak on it a little bit. But y'all talked about the forms of reparations. I think it was Jada or someone who said there's different forms. Right. So pardon me, Adia. There's different forms of reparations. So the California Reparations Commission, which is 9 people on the California Reparations Commission. One of them is here to the left or to the right of me right now. And the Reparations Commission says, all right, well, we have to create reparations here in the state of California that match 5 forms of reparations. So there's 5 general forms of reparations. Y'all ready? 1, compensation, money. 2, restitution. We could talk about what that means. 3, satisfaction. Ooh. 4, rehabilitation. And 5, guarantees of non-repetition. So there's compensation, restitution, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of non-repetition. Those are 5 generally accepted forms of reparations. If you go anywhere around the world and see reparations happening, it's going to be happening in those 5 forms.
Okay, I'm trying to type them as you speak. So you said compensation, restitution, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and the last one?
Guarantees of non-repetition, guaranteeing that you don't repeat it no more.
And so a lot of times when people talk about reparations and they say that California established a commission, right? The thing is, it's a commission to study, right? And that seems to be a really sticking point, studying. So can you talk to us, Chairwoman, why we're studying something that we know happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reparations task force is not only a commission to study, it's a commission to study and develop reparations proposals. But I think, to your point, the California Reparations Task Force is a legislative advisory body. So what that means is, while we have the power to request document production, or we have the subpoena power to subpoena certain documents or certain people to come and testify before the task force, we don't have enforcement powers per se. So what that means is that, again, we're a legislative advisory body. We are advising the legislature on the types of proposals that they should enact in the realm of reparatory justice, but we don't have the enforcement power to actually enforce our proposals into law. So this past year is what I've been characterizing as the study phase, where we've invited people to provide public comment, where we've invited particular people to provide personal and expert testimony on a wide range of topics, chronologically starting with, America's original sin, which is, the transatlantic slave trade and the institution of slavery. And then we've studied other contemporary harms or atrocities against the African-American community that characterize the afterlife of slavery in this country. But again, in this past year, it's been the study phase, and that study phase has been memorialized in this 500-page interim report that we just released at the top of this month. So this next year is what I call the development stage. So we're actually past the study phase, where, to your point, look, we all know what this country has done to the African-American population since 1619, right? But I guess for the purposes of the commission, we just found it's important, and it was in our mandate to actually study those atrocities. And it's, again, memorialized in this 500-page report. This 500-page report you can look at is it documents the copious amounts of evidence that substantiates a claim for reparations for the African-American community. And that 500-page report will be used in this next year, in this development phase, amongst the 9-member task force. That this next year, we're going to have substantive conversations as a 9-member task force about, okay, what does reparations actually look like in light of the evidence that we've collected? And that's where those 5 forms of reparations, or the right to remedy and reparation under international law that Chris mentioned, that's when that becomes more relevant in terms of our deliberations as a task force.
And so a lot of times in the conversations that I've been seeing happen on social media, there has been a lot of questions about who is eligible for reparations. So you said there was 9 members, so that means the vote was 5-4 for you all to develop reparations based on lineage. Chris, why is that important?
Oh, it's so important. That was probably the biggest, most important thing that the commission did next to releasing the report. By the way, the report's 500 pages. I always say this. I don't want to make my teachers look bad. I haven't read anything 500 pages long. I don't remember ever, maybe. So I'm actually doing an online reading of the report chapter by chapter on Twitter Spaces. Actually, it's every Monday or so at 7 p.m. I'm actually gonna finish reading chapter 2 tonight on Twitter Spaces on my Twitter page. So if you want to get read too, join me on my Twitter Spaces, join me on my Twitter page, and we're going to read chapter by chapter every single week until we're done, until we read 500 pages. Okay. So, why was the decision about who is eligible for reparations in California important? Why? Well, it was important because you really can't do the developing the reparations plan, and you really can't figure out how much reparations is going to cost, and you really can't do anything in real life if you don't know who you're doing it for. So if you don't know who you're doing it for, you really can't do anything. And let me say what the commission actually said. Let me say what they actually decided. The commission decided that those of us who are descendants of of persons who were enslaved in the United States by the United States, those of us whose ancestors built this country, those of us whose ancestors worked for free for 250 something plus years, those of us whose ancestors were then freed with nothing but the KKK and the Jim Crow and the Black Codes and everything everybody else here said, those are us. That's us. So those are the Black folks here in the state of California who will be eligible for reparations. And that's what the commission said. And that's what the commission voted on in March. And you're right, it was a 5-4 vote.
Why
in
was
March
it so close? Why was it so close?
That's a great question. So there were people on the commission or task force who thought that the reparations should be for anyone who calls themselves Black or anyone with dark skin, basically. And we were saying no, no, our ancestors actually are owed a specific debt. Our ancestors built this country. Our ancestors were the ones who were brought here in chains and not by choice and by force. It was our ancestors who went through that, and we are their children. And so that's who's eligible, and that's who should be eligible for reparations. Also, the author of the bill for reparation or for the Reparations Commission, the current Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, who used to be in the state assembly, who wrote the actual Reparations Commission bill, came to the commission in January and said, hey, I want reparations, and I wrote this bill, and I wrote this, and I made this for my ancestors and for the people who built this country specifically, not for anyone and everyone who may call themselves Black. And so there were people on the commission who had a different understanding and a different idea. But in the end, the ancestry and lineage eligibility was the decision, and the commission is now going forward to put that into actual practice. So that's generally speaking why the other people wanted something different. But people are entitled to their opinion, but not to their own facts. And the facts are, we are the people who built this country, and that's who reparations is for.
Okay, DJ, do you agree that that's what it should be for, paying people? Go ahead.
Yeah, very, very much so. It's only, I feel like there's a lineage of how reparations can get mixed up into people who have different skin color because of people who have just had kids with other Black people. But I feel like it should really go off of how much have you struggled off that because you haven't been paid your reparations for working for so much for free.
Melissa, do you agree?
I do agree, because if you're giving it to everyone who is Black, then what about the people whose ancestors did go through that chattel slavery here in America? If you're giving it just to everybody, what about those people that actually deserve it? Reparations are making amends for the wrongs that have been done, but if you're just giving it to everybody, and then the people who step forward later who are going through family tree and realize that, they did come from chattel slavery in America, and then there's nothing left over for them. They're being deprived of that same right that was stripped away from them and from their ancestors hundreds of years ago, and that wouldn't be fair.
Jada, do you agree with Melissa, or do you have a different take on it?
No, I agree. I agree with Melissa 100%. I was actually thinking that. I was also thinking of future generations. So I was thinking, so does reparation mean for the people who are right now walking on this planet saying, hey, where is the debt that you owe us? Or is it like continual payment for our future generations and the generations after that, et cetera, et cetera?
That's a great question. Where can we put that? Dr. Moore.
I was getting ready to jump in. Chair Moore, jump in. Oh, I was ready.
Okay, well, come on, because we'll give Dr. Moore the floor next. But
yeah, Jada, I like how first of all, Melissa, you're absolutely right. DJ, you absolutely right. And Jada, I like how you're thinking. I like how you're thinking so much. Here's why. I agree with you. And this is what the commission has to do over the next year. So Chair Moore said it perfectly. The first year of the commission's work, by the way, the commission by law has 2 years, not 4, 2 years to do its work. So 2 years. So 2 years from the day that it started meeting. So it started meeting in June of 2021. That means it has 2 years, so June of 2023, to do all of its work. In the first year, as the chair said, it was the study year. It was the investigate year. It was the put the evidence together year. It was to hear from the experts and hear from the public year and put it all together and then put it out in this first report. The second year is, okay, what do we actually do? What are the reparations? What is the plan? What is the reparations plan? And what I want to see in the plan is exactly what you said, Jada, is, yeah, I want to get it, but I want my elders to get it too. I want my parents to get it too, but I also want my son to get it, and if I have a daughter, my daughter to get it, and their kids to get it, and their kids to get it too. I want it to be generational. So I'm expecting that the Reparations Commission will put in the plan something that's multi-generational, that is for you, Jada, and then for your kids, if you decide to have kids, and for your kids, Jalen, and for your kids, DJ, and Adia, and Melissa, and all of our kids. That's what I expect to see in the plan.
Didi, I'm coming to you.
Oh,
so do you think it should be a multi-generational approach? Do you agree with that assessment?
I definitely agree with that, because I feel like no matter how many generations you are, because of how traumatic and long slavery was and how many effects it's had in our society, that it can't just be like one generation or a couple generations. Like, you got to keep going, and that's the debt you got to pay. But I actually kind of had another question, if that's okay. It's kind of like So it's kind of like a long-winded question, so just bear with me here. But I was recently talking to my mom about I believe it was this past month, actually. Like, there was something with the California Senate, and they rejected, like, I believe it was a bill to like outlaw involuntary servitude. And because this would, like, obviously affect how our, like, the American prison system is run, because that is just involuntary servitude in and of itself. So I guess this is something I often think about with reparations, because I feel like for America or the government or whoever it may be, right, to give reparations, they would have to say, like, first and foremost, the simplest thing would be slavery is wrong, right? And although, like, all of us are probably like, yeah, like, duh. But I feel like for them to say slavery was wrong, they would have to stop it now, right? Because slavery is still going on. We can't just act as if, like, slavery ended in 1865 and, that's it. Slavery is still going on. So I think something that I always get, tricky, I guess is kind of tricky, is just like, would reparations also go to the people who've been in the mass incarceration system since slavery ended? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like it's always a tricky thing, because for the US or California or whoever to give slavery reparations, they would first have to end slavery and then, give reparations to those people. So I guess that's just something I was, like, curious about. So I guess my question kind of is, like, how do you think that would work? Because I feel like it's very hypocritical for our government to be like, hey, here's reparations, but, you know, like, we're still going to continue slavery. Like, just, you know, don't talk about it type thing. So
yeah, and I'm smiling because I know Chris is actually working with the
right
folks on that bill. So
yeah.
Chris, you heard the question. So what do you think?
Yeah, if I could, Adia, that was hard. Oh, that was hard. That was a bar. Oh, you said it. Oh, you said it right. How you gonna give slavery reparations, but you still got slavery going on? That's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah. And so what you talking about is something called ACA 3. ACA 3, Assembly Constitutional Amendment 3. That is a bill that right now is in the California Senate right now that would end slavery currently right now. So right now, maybe y'all don't know this, but right now you can be enslaved here in the state of California if you punish for a crime. If you get punished for a crime, meaning if you get locked up, you can be enslaved. And that is still right now to this day in our state constitution. Right now in our state constitution, you can be enslaved if you are punished for a crime. It says slavery is prohibited, involuntary servitude is prohibited, comma, except as punishment for a crime. That's literally what it says.
What amendment? Hold on real quick. What amendment is that?
That is
no, not you. Them.
Oh, pardon me.
What amendment is that?
The 13th, right? Wrong.
13th.
There it is. Perfect. Right on. So not only is that in our state constitution, Article 1, Section 6, or something like that, it's also in our federal constitution, our national constitution, in just what Jada said, the 13th Amendment, meaning you can still be enslaved if you are punished for a crime. And absolutely right, Adia. Right now, I have been very fortunate to work with someone who was enslaved in the state of California prisons, a brother named Samuel Nathaniel Brown. Samuel Brown, don't forget that name. Samuel Brown. Samuel Brown was in prison. He spent 24 years in prison. He just been out for about 190, 200 days. And Samuel Brown was being forced to work in prison. He was a janitor in the cells. And they told him, if you don't go to work, even though you sick and there's COVID going around, we don't care. If you don't go in there and clean up this cell, guess what? When you go to the parole board and when they try to let you out, we're going to say you can't leave. You got to get another extra 15 years because you didn't want to go to work. One day, you have to stay in here another 15 years. Good. And Samuel Brown said, I got to do something about that. So he talked to his wife, and then she helped him write what is now called ACA 3. He wrote it while he was in prison. And this bill will end current slavery in the state of California. And the Reparations Commission actually in its 500-page report says, hey, California, y'all might want to get rid of slavery right now and pass ACA 3. And you're absolutely right, Adia. Unfortunately, the California Senate on last Thursday or Friday, when ACA 3 came up for a decision and for a vote, the California Senate said no. We don't want to do this right now. And so
didn't the Department of Finance give testimony that said it would have a financial impact?
Yes, they said it was going to cost too much. It was going to cost too much. I mean, that sounds like something they were saying about us, right? It's going to cost y'all.
That's why they never let us out.
Right. That's why they have the exception in there in the first place.
Yeah.
It's going to cost too much, or I don't understand what this would do. And so the Senate on Friday or Thursday said no, and then the bill is supposed to come back up this week. Actually, we thought it was going to come back up today. I was actually waiting right before I came on here. I was watching the Senate hearings today because I was expecting it to come back up and see if they would pass it, but it didn't come up today. We expect it to come up on Wednesday. So we'll see if California is really serious about actually ending slavery, and then we can see if they're serious about reparations.
Okay. Well, I know Jada was trying to jump in here. Jada, you were coming off of mute, and then I want to go to Jalen, and then I want to talk about the process of a bill becoming law. So go ahead, Jada.
Oh, I just wanted to say, like, the same 13th Amendment that has an exception for slavery as free labor, as used for a punishment, is the same amendment that they like to praise in history class and say Abraham Lincoln freed all the slaves and he ended slavery. Are you reading? We're reading the same amendment, right? Oh, okay.
Right.
Y'all are on it. Jalen, talk to me about, do you think they're serious about ending slavery if they're voting against bills on the floor?
They're not serious about ending slavery. I was just having this conversation, I want to say 2 days ago, I think, with my mom, and I was like, slavery is still in the prison system. Because my dad works in the prison system. I mean, yeah, he was a correctional officer for 10 plus years. So he would tell me like some of the stories that he would see is he was like, that's somewhere that you never want to go at all. But I was also, while I was doing my research for this, I was seeing that it said Black Americans are the only group that has not received reparations for state sanctioned racial discrimination, while slavery afforded some white families the ability to accrue tremendous wealth. So that makes you really sit there and think about how, back to the first part, the first question was, what was the first question that we had asked? It was something about the
I was saying the lineage question.
Yes.
Were you in agreement with the lineage question? Yeah.
Yes, I agree 100%, because you cannot put somebody on the same tier as somebody, because if they're going to put all Black people on the same tier, somebody who has just came to America and just got their citizenship, and they're the first generation in America of, let's say they came from Nigeria, they are considered, if we put them all on the same playing field as Black, they did not have the grandparent or the lineage that built this country. And to give them the money that our ancestors basically worked for and made these white people so much money through slavery, and some of these lineage factors are still in poverty from when they were in slavery, is like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, you have these white people from slavery that still have the same amount of wealth from slavery, more wealth passed down from each generation, and then you still have some of our ancestors that were poor and in slavery, and now they're still in, some of them now are still in poverty and can't get out and they don't have a way out because of the start that they were given in this country. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Adia.
I also want to go back to like the first thing you said, like how it's also important to acknowledge how like white people really got rich off of slavery. So I think it also begs the question of like, you know, like if we really want to like be like slavery never happened, right? Okay, should part of reparations come from those families who literally enslaved? Like, if you think about it, like, I mean, and I also think
I think that's more like restitution. Is that what you're talking about? Some restitution?
I mean, I don't know. And I also think people often try to like talk about not having reparations, like, oh, it'll bankrupt the country, or oh this, oh that. And I'm also like, we got so many billionaires, tax them. First of all, you can, tax those families. You can take it out of our military budget. We can stop bombing countries for no reason.
D, I was just thinking that. I was like, how y'all gonna talk about, oh, this is gonna make the country go bankrupt if we too busy trying to pay everybody? Y'all sitting on generational wealth. What are you talking about? Y'all got plenty. Go ahead and go. You can share. You can share some. Sharing is caring. The heck?
Melissa.
I was going to add to that. I saw something when I was researching, and it said, like, a common quote when people are talking about reparations, people, when they counter it, say, nobody alive today was involved in slavery, which, one, is not true, as we're talking about, and two, someone else countered that and said, no one has a problem with receiving any inheritance and therefore money that they weren't alive to make. So we understand the concept of generational wealth, but somehow generational trauma and poverty aren't real. So I just thought I would add that, because I think it fits perfectly. Like, everyone is okay, when your great grandpa dies, you get all this money. But then when our ancestors who went through chattel slavery didn't get paid anything, So why should we not get that money? Makes no sense. It's a double standard.
What you say, Jada?
I was just like, let them know. Like, dang, bro. Like, that was deep, Melissa. I gotta give you that. That was deep. Oh my God.
DJ, come on.
So going back to how Generations built off of this, I watched. So Donald Glover, the man who made the music video "This Is America," has a show called Atlanta, and season 3 he has episodes that literally cover all of this. And I was watching it, and they even say that families who owe or were big slave owners should actually pay their taxes back to those Black families. I feel like that's absolutely true, because it makes more sense that the people who did those crimes and did all this torturous stuff to us should be the ones to pay us back, not just a generation of everyone, but the ones who actually did it. But even so, that's still hard because they don't want to tell us who did it.
And I think that what's so interesting about your points that you're making, y'all seem to want accountability. And it seems like accountability has like skipped several generations. You know, nobody wants to be held accountable for what somebody else did, but they want to live off the money that was inherited from the people who did this. And I think another interesting thing is when we look at the laws and the policies that have been put into place, it's been to protect that wealth. And you have other things that were supposed to be, you know, leveling the playing field and just, you know, affirmative action. And for some reason, white women became the sole, you know, the biggest beneficiaries of that. But if you read the book, they were her property. You would see she was complicit in a lot of the things that were happening. And so I don't want to leave Chairwoman Moore out. But when you're hearing these young people talk, first of all, y'all are killing it. I just have to let you know.
Word.
Young people talk.
Absolutely.
How can we get them more involved in what it is that you guys have going on? Because their level of understanding is right up there. And they are making such eloquent, you know, points. How can we get them more involved in the conversation to kind of explain this not only to adults, but to their peers?
I'll let Chris answer that, but that's been just going through my mind as I've been listening to this conversation. Just the capacity of these young folks is just far exceeds some of the conversations that I've had with adults older than me. So I've been thinking about during this conversation ways to get Black youth more involved. If Chris wants to speak more to that, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just gonna agree with you, Chad. Like I said, we should have, you know, some new elections for the Reparations Commission, and we should put all of y'all in the chair and keep the chair, maybe keep the vice chair too, because he's cool, and then just put y'all on. I mean, y'all are so smart. Y'all are so smart. And but okay, so how do you get more involved? So one, I want to, and this is this is partly why I reached out to you, Laureen, to touch base, because I knew that you had amazing youth around you just like this. So one, I want to actually do more of these, and actually hopefully do some of these in person, and actually talk directly to youth over this summer and hopefully throughout the rest of the year, and do some more online events and make it a regular thing where we come and talk about reparations. That's the first thing. So one part of my job at my group is to do community outreach for reparations. So part of my job is to make sure that I am talking to youth like y'all, and then making a connection between y'all and the Reparations Commission. And the Reparations Commission has hearings that are public. They're usually every other month or so, but they're on a break right now for the summer, so they're going to come back in September. So I would encourage you to show up to the hearings either in person or virtually too. You can watch them. We live stream them on YouTube, so you can watch them. You can call in. You can actually talk to the Reparations Commission members themselves during the public comment. You can send the commission an email right now. You don't have to wait for any hearings. You can actually send them an email. You can actually call them and leave a voicemail, so you can make contact with them right now. But I will also encourage the Black Youth Leadership Project to actually bring youth and actually reach out to specific commission members and have like one-on-one conversations with them. Like bring the commission members to y'all and like have them come and talk to y'all, just like y'all have the chair right now. Like bring the other commission members here, make them come talk to y'all, and public or private too, right? And some of this stuff can be in the public setting, some of this stuff can be in the private setting. One last thing, the commission, as we said, has to take the next year to put together the reparations plan. So I would turn the question to y'all. What do you want to see in the reparations plan? What is important in your life that you want to see in the reparations plan? And then make sure that the commission knows what those things are and puts those in the reparations plan. The next year is all about us. It's all about what do we want in the reparations plan. And so I don't think we can do this without you, without your voice, without your energy, without your ideas. I don't think we can do it. And by you, I'm talking to the young folks here. And by the young folks, you, and those who are going to watch too. What are the reparations for you? What's important to your life? That's what we're going to spend the next year doing. And that's what we need to hear from y'all. So there's a bunch of ways for you to get involved, either directly or indirectly or some combination of that. And the main thing is to make sure that you are a part.
What's important to you, Melissa? What would you like to see or like to read in the next report, the development phase? What's important to you?
I think it was something that was touched on, making sure, that this isn't just for one generation, that it can be spread onto, my kids and my kids' kids, because I think growing up Black in this society is hard enough. And then knowing your history is hard enough. And then not having the money or not having the reparations to show for what your ancestors went through, and then having to grow up and live in this society is hard. So I think that also not going back on their word, not getting through with this and then saying, oh, like Dee Dee was bringing up about modern day slavery in the jail system. And I just think not going back on your word and making sure that it is going to be enough. Don't make promises you can't keep. Make sure that it is enough for this generation and the generations to come, and the generations before us that deserve this.
DJ, what's important to you?
Yeah, kind of back to that generational, because if how time evolves and how money just goes along in the US, it's always some type of increase, but it doesn't feel like it's changed. So I feel like you should be paying us back a little bit more of that increase, so you're not keeping us at the same level as we are.
Okay. Jalen, what's important to you?
There's two things that are really important to me. One is the lineage factor, because like I said earlier, I don't feel like somebody who has just got here should be awarded the same things that as people who ancestors have literally built this country that they're walking on. That, and I feel like we need to have rehabilitation for the people who are in this modern day slavery, for when they come out, and how to integrate them back into regular life. Because you have people who come out of the prison system and they're not given any rehabilitation, how to join normal society again. Some of these people have been in there for 20, 30 years, and that's all they know. And they're expected to go out there, go find a job, which most of these jobs aren't even allowing them to be a part of their job because of their criminal history. And then you have some people not even being able to make money, some people not being able to rent houses. Some of their family doesn't even live over here. They can't travel. They can't do this. So you have all these different things, and they're just expected to know how to do it when they don't even. Some of them have been in there since they were kids, so they don't even know what outside life looks like. So that's what I think.
Talk
that should
to
be
him, Jalen. Talk to him. Okay, Adia, what's important to you?
So I think a couple things are important to me. I think one thing is really planning out who the reparations would go to, because even though you could talk about, obviously, I I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is just like planning out the lineage, because I feel like that stuff can get tricky, at least to like my knowledge, because I want to make sure that people aren't missed out on, like, you know what I'm saying? Because documentation, especially as you get into like more when slavery was ending, or if you get more into like in the North and it was outlawed but still happening, or if you get into convict leasing or whatever it may be, just making sure people are paid their due, and like people just aren't getting lost in the sauce, I guess, so to say, for a lack of better phrasing. And also really documenting what not slavery, but reparations look like, in a sense of, because I think, and really weighing how that would really benefit the Black community, because if you think about like just giving people cash, right? But then you're going to spend it with like, you know, these same big white corporations. And then, you know, we might just be at the same place we started. So just really figuring out the best method to give reparations and how you're giving them to people and like tracking who you're giving them to.
Gotcha. Jada.
I'm not gonna hold y'all. They kind of tackled a lot of what I wanted to say, but I think if I was to think of something that was really important to me, would definitely be lineage, paying your debt to the exact people that you owe it to, and not just, oh, they came along and you're just gonna give somebody else's reparations to somebody whose ancestors didn't work at all, basically didn't work at all. And I think personally, my form of reparation would be teaching the right history, because something that Melissa said that really hit me was, y'all can take the inheritance, the generational inheritance, but y'all don't want to talk about the generational history. And that's kind of crazy to me. So I would love for you guys, you want to talk big on accountability, et cetera, part of being accountable is teaching the right history and not glossing over or painting a white picture over it and making it seem like, oh, everything is peachy keen because you guys are too uncomfortable to talk about it. But you're not uncomfortable to take the money that comes with it. So I think if you're going to take accountability, let's start with that, teaching the right history and not being afraid of having those kinds of discussions in class.
I'm ready to raise y'all an offering, because I think that, you know, in listening to you all talk, I mean, the level of understanding of what we're talking about is amazing. The fact that, you know, you're thinking beyond just what you read to kind of decode some of the information and really put it back out there for people to kind of chew on. I think that is huge. I also think that when people talk about documentation, and I think documentation is going to be it, there seems to be this belief that people are going to have a hard time proving that their ancestors were the ones who built this country. And I can tell you, slavery was a business, and it's highly documented. I've been able to trace back all the way to like 1836. And I would probably know more if I had more names of people who were in my family. But see, that's what happens when families are separated and we don't know who comes from where. If you know where your people at, you probably not the people owed reparations. I'm just saying, if you know everybody down your line and you can pinpoint where they came from, you're probably not the ones owed reparations. And we have to have that conversation. Number two, I think that we have to be really, really careful when we start talking about the ways in which reparations can be handed out, because I think it's an absolute myth that Black people don't know how to handle money. That ain't all Black people, right? And so we can't regurgitate talking points. We have to figure out how to best serve people. Like lump sum payments probably won't be a really good thing, not in this economy, not with inflation, and with things being so high. So it can't just be, in my opinion, I'm talking, in my opinion, it can't just be about cash payments. I want my 40 acres and a mule. Sometimes I don't want to live by certain people. I want to be able to go and do my own thing, free from prying eyes and under the white gaze. I'm sorry, I just don't want to do it. So we have to talk about that 40 acres and a mule. They need to re-put that in there. Who threw that out, Chris? Tell me again. I can't remember.
General Sherman.
Okay.
Talking about
I'm talking about the president, that somebody put it into law, and then the next president came and basically.
So it was General Sherman's Field Order Number 15 that granted the freed slaves or the freedmen 40 acres and a mule. By the way, do you know how big 40 acres is?
I don't know, but I know it's more than what I got right now.
And so let me give you a picture in your mind.
Okay.
in 2013 land, so that, not too, 2013 land, you could build 900 homes on 40 acres. You could build
Like,
900
two-story
houses.
homes?
Not
Like, how many
probably
square
probably
feet?
one stories. Probably
Okay,
one story
okay.
homes, but that's a lot of
how many
homes
square
on
feet
40
about
acres.
for 900 homes? Just how big square footage wise?
They'll probably be about a one family,
Like 1,200
mom, dad,
square feet? Like, how
child,
many
right?
rooms? No.
Right? Maybe 2 room, right? So like like an average family. But
Okay,
that's
so
a
like
lot
the
of
tiny
homes.
houses. So like the tiny houses?
Nah, bigger than a tiny house though. Bigger than a tiny house, but not
Okay.
not like a mansion, but like
No, I'm not thinking mansion. Just probably like the house I have now, probably.
right.
Okay.
Now times 900 of them on 40 acres, and each one of our families was supposed to get 40 acres. Each one of our families. So it was General Sherman who issued that order on after the request of a bunch of black folks who have been advocating to him and working for it, and then Abraham Lincoln honored it, and then he was murdered, and then it was Andrew Jackson who came next, or Johnson or Jackson who came next and said, nah, we're not doing none of that. And as a matter of fact, if you used to own people, we're gonna give you some money for what you lost.
Yep.
We're gonna give y'all some money back. And if you used to own people, we're gonna let you back in the government. Don't worry about it. None. Y'all didn't, everything is cool now. Just don't tear the country up anymore. That's what actually happened. White folks actually got reparations when they lost us. Crazy.
It's a cold game out here. It is a cold game. But the more we have conversations and we get an understanding and we get to talk to other people, and we do that with facts and not emotions, I think that we can really get somewhere, because a lot of people are just uninformed or misinformed. And so how we go about sharing the information is going to be incumbent upon you. But I'm going to tell you, I'm about to raise y'all an offering. I'm serious. Y'all did that. And it's so good to have the chair here and to have Mr. Lodgson here to hear y'all, because man, y'all did the work today to make sure you were prepared. And so I absolutely appreciate that, because we can't have conversations where people don't know what the context is or what we're actually talking about. So the fact that you guys came in here, especially after this weekend that we had, and you're ready and y'all are awake, I salute y'all. Barely.
Hey, great job this weekend. I was there for a little bit of the event. I think it was Saturday night. I think it was Saturday. Pardon me, Friday night, and it was an amazing, beautiful event down there in Old Sag. It was so dope, so dope. Y'all did y'all thing, and I wasn't able to get there on Saturday for the Black graduation. Sunday. You see, Sunday. But I heard it was dope. I heard it was fire. So just giving y'all love and appreciate it. Let me give you y'all flowers while y'all can smell them, even though y'all still young. Let me give y'all your flowers also. Let me give you another flower for the other side right there too, because you already got flowers. Dope work. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. Love what y'all do. And this is why we here.
Thank you. And Jada wanted to make sure you knew that she had allergies, so she don't want no flowers. She takes Cash App and
Cash App works.
Food.
And food. Well, look, y'all, we are running out of time for today. We want to thank the chair, and we absolutely hope that you feel better soon. COVID is no joke, and we want you to take care of yourself. Absolutely. Mr. Lodgson, it's always a pleasure hosting you and having the conversation. To my young people, thank y'all for being prepared. We love it. We love to see it. We love to see it. It said the land close to beaches is now worth billions in the Carolinas. I'm sure it is. And they went and took that, so they need to pay restitution.
Could I say one thing?
Absolutely.
I think Chris should follow up with you guys on the back channel. But as he said, over the summer, we're hosting community listening sessions. And, CJEC is one of those anchor orgs. But then there's also, if you look at the UCLA Bunch Center's website, that's the entity that's helping us to facilitate these listening sessions. There's a link on their website for a testimonial portal, because the Bunch Center is also working on creating a report this summer collecting the testimonies of different groups and individuals about what reparations looks like to them. And I think eligibility is also something that will be in their report. And so, what you all had to say is super brilliant and super generative. So I would recommend, that Chris link up with you guys in the back channel to see if you all are interested in inputting into that testimonial portal via the Bunch Center's website, your own, personal testimonies about why reparations is important to you, who should be eligible and all of that. And you never know, that could be incorporated into this report that the Bunch Center has to compile and give to the task force to help inform our work.
Awesome. Yeah. Please follow up with us about that so we can get the young people on it, because you see they have a lot to say. But we want to thank you both for joining us today. We have run out of time, but we absolutely appreciate your knowledge on this subject and making sure that we were informed. And so we want to make sure that we follow the conversation. But number two, for the young people who are here, we are taking a break for the month of July. We hope to come back in August with more fire content, but we need a break. We've been running nonstop since April, and it's just time to sit down somewhere. So if there are young people who want to join in the conversation, coming soon, we are going to be launching what is known as BYLP News. We will be looking for news anchors, news from our perspective, our way, that is going to be led by our podcast team first, but we are going to be adding people to co-hosts to the queue. So be on the lookout for that. That is going to roll out probably in August or September. But we absolutely believe in amplifying youth voice, but we also believe in our youth being prepared to have the conversation. So with that, we're about that Black excellence and that life. If you want some, come and get some, because we ain't never scared. And with that, we're going to hit you with the wave. We will check you out sometime in August. Be on the lookout for that. But we absolutely appreciate your presence here, both Chris and Dr. Moore. And we hope that you will join us again. So 1, 2, 3, hit them with the wave. We will see y'all soon.
Bye.